so it is 6:31. We'll call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. Our first agenda item is to review and approve the prior meeting minutes. Does anyone have any feedback on the prior meeting minutes?
Yes, there was a spelling, Kathy Elder's name is spelled wrong.
Yes, where?
We're right at the top of the review and approve minutes. Do I have the right one? You got it? Yeah.
So the minutes were where we corrected the change from the prior month.
Right, but she typed it wrong.
Okay, what should it be?
A-D-L-E-R, Adler.
Right, and she has Alder. Okay. All right. So in the item number 2, the correction from the prior month, we need to change Kathy's last name from Alder to Adler. Good catch. Small note for number 5 that I was working on that with Kat and not with Kathy, so we'll just change that in the minutes. And then for number 10, the very last line where we talked about Leisha's retiring, I think we need to clarify that she is the EPS superintendent and add her last name, which is Cabral. Anyone have any other thoughts or comments on the minutes? All right, is there a motion to approve them with those changes?
Approve minutes as amended.
All right, second. All right. Colleen, can we start with you to...
Crowther, yes.
Barger, yes.
I wasn't at those meetings, so
You
during
can still.
abstain.
Okay.
Cabral, yes.
I wasn't at the meeting either, so I should not vote on it.
Okay, you can say Ettinger abstain.
Ettinger abstained.
Bornstein, yes.
Foster, yes. And Angela, yes.
Muncy, yes.
All right. Minutes are approved as amended. Membership update. So we're very happy to welcome Michelle Durance back to the committee, our former chair and longtime member.
Good to be back.
So very good to have her. We are now a committee of 11. We do still have 2 vacancies. If you know of anyone interested and willing to support the mission and put in the time to support and plan HRC events and activities. All right, treasurer update.
We have, we spent $155.07 for our workshop on the notebooks, the pens, and the name tags. So with that deducted, we have $7,009.83.
All right, good update. Any questions for the treasurer? Okay, good. All right, HRC collaboration. Colleen, Superintendent Advisory Committee.
I don't have any updates on that. We do have a new superintendent in July though.
Oh.
So current assistant superintendent Chrissy Pruitt was unanimously selected by an advisory board and then voted on by school committee last Thursday. So yes, so she will be taking over on July 1st. So that's very exciting news.
That is very exciting news. Chrissy has been a longtime ally for the HRC, and I think will continue some really good partnership between the schools and the mission of this committee. Great, thank you for that update. Mass HRC, I do not have any updates from them, although I will say they do have their own website that has a resource page on it, and so I'd like to link to it from our website and resource page. I think that will just help perhaps reduce the amount of content, but just connect groups and make people aware that there is a network of mass HRCs. DEI, Parent Advisory, Colleen, has that been active?
No, it's not active right now.
All right. Is it fair to say that both of those committees may be dormant for the rest of this school year?
Well, the DEI one I believe is dormant. The Superintendent's Advisory Committee, it does meet. I'm not able to attend because it's during my working hours, but I haven't gotten any updates from any of the, I'm not sure who goes from the school committee, to be honest with you, but I can try to find out. But I reached out once, I don't think, and I didn't have any really good information to bring back to you.
Okay. That would also be good to know when they meet. in case someone else is able
Okay.
to attend as a representative.
I feel like it's somewhere in the 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon range. I just know that it was definitely during my
Yeah.
working hours.
Okay, so if you're able to
I can find that out for you.
yeah, that'd be good. Perfect. All right.
Liz,
Yeah.
the shared mission group, with Joe Petty, the fellow, I'm not sure, I'll find out what, I got the email like everyone else, I just found out about it. But I don't know whether the group will continue or not.
Okay. All right.
Keep you updated.
All right. Good update. Any other updates on collaborations groups that the HRC works with? All right. Indigenous land acknowledgement, I'm going to pause on until Angie shows up. Website update, anything on the website, things you want to see on the website, thoughts about the website? Okay, I will just forward to Brett, our website updater, the request about linking the HRC resource, like the statewide one, and we'll put it on the resource page.
And will we put the flyer for the training on as well?
Yes, good. And whatever information we have about Pride, we can talk about as well. So, flyer for the training, Mass HRC, and Pride 2026. Good. All right. All right, great. All right, public statement policy review. So Colleen did a great job drafting up an initial statement for the committee to review. And remember, the purpose of this statement we had said was not to issue responses, but to educate the community about our existence, what we do, and we can also talk about how much we want to talk about what we do versus what we don't do. Colleen gives the most expansive version to look at, and we can figure out if we want all of it, some of it, parts for certain places. So what sort of feedback does anyone have about that document?
I have to admit, I didn't see it, so I apologize.
Okay, well, I can send you my hard copy to look at it, but no, it's a red line version with some feedback I gave Colleen, so it may not be the most helpful or readable.
Thank you for drafting it. I really like it. I think to Liz's point about like what we do and don't do,
Mhm.
I'm not sure the bullet points of we may miss events and selective advocacy are what we should highlight.
Okay.
I think we should focus on what we do and just like restating that, and maybe I don't know, I think people may misconstrue some of the words
Okay.
in those
Fair
bullet
enough.
points.
Yeah, I think instead of our capacity and focus is just say, like you had mentioned, the local reminder, our focus is local impact, and advocacy. So like national level stuff isn't something that would even be on the.
I think that's related to the discussion that this committee has had multiple times over the past years, that it became very hard to delineate what a response would look like, because there were plenty of arguments about local impact to
Yeah, that's true.
state, national, international actions.
And I agree. I didn't love the whole, because I did this in the airport. I had 5.5 hours, so I was typing away. And I didn't love the I was trying to figure out how do you tell people what we stand for, but also answer that question, because to that discussion we had last time about people would be like, well, why aren't you weighing in on this human rights atrocity that's a big deal and could impact people in our community. So that's kind of where I was going, but I don't love the bullet points either myself, if I'm being honest. But I do think it would be helpful to clarify for people in some way, what we do, absolutely, but the rationale or why we're not weighing in on everything, because I wouldn't want people to like mistake that for like we don't care or we're not interested or those things aren't relevant. So
I wondered about if we had a more blanket statement, sort of condemning all those issues that we would write an individual thing for,
okay.
and just state that, and then say that we aren't able to respond to individual ones, but globally this is what we stand for, that we don't, bigotry and all the things that we could put in there that we would issue a statement for.
So
Does that make sense?
yeah, so maybe like that sentence about like we work to foster a community free from bigotry, hatred, intolerance, etc. Like make that stronger. Like we condemn all acts of
And we stand firm in
our belief, or like blow up that sentence a little bit and make it a little stronger.
Right.
I don't know.
Did we also, because Hingham made the same kind of blanket statement, right?
Hingham has a similar policy
Yeah.
in the decision not to, that is their statement policy, is that we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be helpful, like, looking at theirs. I think it was linked.
In the prior meeting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can go look at that again.
Yeah.
I liked how they discussed about talking about things that happen too much and the inability to affect change in some of those topics.
Okay.
Is why they, I think, steered away from commenting on everything. I can't remember. I like the wording, maybe. I don't know. Maybe a little useful. Otherwise, it's good.
I think something to think about also is the format or home for this. I mean, certainly we can put it on the website, but I think the goal was for this to be more outward facing. And ECAT at one point had mentioned both like a ticker option that is just kind of running during some of their programming, as well as a particular spot or story or mini interview or opportunity to talk about it as well. So just like Angie had drafted up like different ways to get information across with the land acknowledgement, I wonder if this might take different forms depending on what our vehicle is.
We could print it like on a poster for the March session or something.
If we have it done by then, but
Yeah.
But we would have to approve it tonight. Yeah. All right, so any other comments for Colleen? So what does the summary look like right now in terms of edits or changes?
Okay, it looks like removing the bullet points, and then in lieu of that, strengthening that first sentence, and then also like taking the feedback that you actually gave me that I don't know if they have copies, well, with the red line copy over there. We kind of crossed paths electronically, so she gave me some really good feedback, but it could kind of already, I didn't respond in time, so it just went out, which is fine. But it's really good feedback, and then I'll check the Hingham site and like kind of maybe marry our words a little bit closer to theirs.
I like how they were able to skim it down.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, maybe it'd be easier.
Sounds good to me, so I will keep working on it.
And I think you can feel free to play around with like what a maybe short, medium, long version might look like too, if that is helpful from an organizational standpoint. So Pat, to your point about distributing information in March, it won't be this. We do have flyers about the HRC mission, which really just restates our charge. So I think we would include those at the time. Okay, great. All right, good work. That's good feedback. Angie, are you ready to present and talk about the land acknowledgement?
I actually was wondering about that, about like what was the order in which we were doing the agenda. But that's fine.
we saved it for you.
Okay, no, I mean,
Okay.
I actually was hoping that we would have enough time. Because I was worried when I saw the events down at J, I was like, wait a second, I didn't have time to.
I know it takes more time than last
Yes,
time.
good, thank you.
So, yeah.
So basically, in essence, the what we talked about and kind of what we had planned, and particularly during our meeting and stuff that we had at your house, was really to be able to focus on ways in which to promote more of a sense of community, encourage, one of the reasons why people have difficulty being able to, engage in conversation that cause difference, they're afraid they're going to trip up, or they're going to say something, or it's going to be awkward, or something's going to go wrong, particularly considering the current political and social, I guess, and economic climate and such. And so I kind of sent this around, so I didn't know if you had opportunities. It's kind of long, so I don't know if you want to go through. I would be more than happy to. I just don't know in terms of timing if we're going to go through everything, which did you all receive this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right, so basically we have an understanding as to what the overall purpose of the workshop is, and then going further into, and I have the approximate time. There is not going to be 10 minutes. Oh, go ahead.
Wait, sorry, are we talking about the?
She's gonna have you talk about the land.
Oh, that first. Oh, I thought we were doing the workshop first. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, the land acknowledgement.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, it's an easy one. Okay, the land acknowledgement one. I mean, I have a couple of different ones already listed here. And so, whether it's for some sort of signage or whatever it is that we'll be producing, or whether it's our, presentations, website, or what have you. And so I just wanted to know if there was any sort of feedback, ideas, things that should be changed.
I love it.
Yeah, I like them all for different reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a great format. I love the way you make the statement and then how we link to support that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the content is terrific. I think website would be good to go. Presentations and meetings, like obviously we can shop it at our very first one later this month.
Okay, so
Public programming and signage, like this would be another example of slightly different content that we could talk about different ways that we get it out to the community. I would say for the schools, I think this is fine right now as a draft, and I think that's probably an ongoing conversation. So our superintendents are changing over, but Colleen had informed us of the good news from a continuity standpoint is that our current assistant superintendent has been appointed as the full-time superintendent.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, she's cool. Okay.
So I think talking with Chrissy Pruitt at some point this spring about this idea and getting her feedback about what socializing it into the schools might look like might be a good long-term plan. And they could, soft try out some things in the spring if they want, and then plan maybe what 26, 27 academic year would look like.
Okay.
Would you want to have Chrissy come to one of our meetings to talk about the transition and some of these issues, or is that not appropriate?
It's not that it's not appropriate. I want to see how the Pride planning is going because we're time locked in this space.
Yeah.
But I can reach out to Chrissy, see what her availability is for April or May, or even if she would, it would be easier for her to be like a June, July conversation in between.
Yeah, she's defending her PhD
I think
in
it's,
March.
yeah,
and
it's
then
next week maybe?
and then she's going to, if she wins the battle, she will be getting her PhD in May. I think she said it.
Yeah, I think she officially graduates in May, but I think, she's defending, I believe it's next week. She's got a lot going on.
I'll get in touch with her in a couple weeks. Right. Sounds good. Okay, super. I'll make a note. Okay, great. All right, so the next item is the religious holidays calendar. So I have a printout here if people wanted to refresh their memory. So Kat and I worked on updating mostly dates, a teensy bit on content, and we did some good fact checking with practitioners of particular religions.
I have a copy, I'll stand down.
Okay. Colleen, was the school calendar voted on or not yet?
We got it down to 2. I don't think we actually voted on. Sorry, I'm having a moment.
That is
We were
completely
down to 1
fine.
and 3. It was either school starting on the 31st or school starting on, or teachers going back the 31st or September 1st. And I want to say, I think we went with option 3. We definitely picked the early one, and I think we had the final vote.
Well, regardless, it is relatively shortly on the heels of the calendar being decided and planning getting underway for next year. So, does anyone have any feedback? Do you see any typos, corrections?
Looks great.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the calendar?
So moved.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, second. All right, so we'll vote on approving the calendar, at which point, once it's approved, I will make sure Colleen has a copy digital and PDF to share with all the school personnel, K through 12. Colleen, can we start with you for the vote?
Crowder, yes.
Barger, yes.
Durance, yes?
Cobalt, yes.
Atherton, yes.
Ornstein, yes.
Foster, yes.
Harris, yes.
Angelo, yes.
Meisner, yes.
All right, great. All right, so we will get that over. We will also get that up on the website as well. Great.
When you
All right.
fall in one place, there's an awful lot of religious holidays. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Yes, it is. It is.
And I just think it's crazy how lots of them are like kind of like clustered together at certain times of the year for all different faiths. It's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the overlap of a lunar calendar and a Gregorian calendar makes every year
Yeah,
interesting.
the history buff, and it makes you want to like, you want to go back and figure out how they all,
Yeah,
like all these different parts of the world and all these things where stuff got started. It's kind of cool.
it is. It is. Well, I think that's the goal as well, not necessarily that you have to get it right, but simply an understanding that there are a variety of holidays observed a variety of different ways and approaching with curiosity. Okay. Now we're on to events, and now we will go to the March workshop. So there are a couple things to talk about with the workshop. One is logistics, the second is advertising, and the actual component of the workshop itself. So logistics, I think, will be very quick. Angie and Kathy, you had at various points been in contact with the church, so
Right.
we have things finalized in terms of the date, the time, the room setup, the equipment we need. Okay, great. So that's all set. Juniper has been working on the poster. Thank you very much, especially since this has been very much an iterative approach with a lot of feedback. So the latest version was sent around. Does anyone have any last feedback for Juniper on this version? Because it does need to be approved in some form tonight to be distributed.
Can we back up just a second? Can I get the elevator pitch of what is this? When is this? What is this?
So this is the 21st.
Yeah.
Yes.
March
So the-
21st, we're having it at 1 to 3 at the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. Yes.
On Lincoln Street.
Angie is kindly going to be our presenter, which is great, and it's really giving people tools to have meaningful conversations with people of diverse backgrounds or beliefs.
Thank you.
Face of those, please.
She was no ED for nothing. So any feedback to Juniper about what's on the poster, how it's worded, colors, font, spacing? I will tell you that after a valiant battle with Eventbrite, I lost, and so we're just going to do email for an RSVP instead of setting it up as an Eventbrite.
I think that Juniper did a nice job.
Yeah. Okay.
Fine.
All right. So, Juniper, what you have can exist in both digital and like PDF printable format. Okay, super. Can we have a motion to approve?
Okay, so,
Yeah.
so is this the PDF that we have here that was attached, or is there the final version that we sent out?
That is like the final version, but I can save it as a PDF if you would prefer it to be a PDF instead of a PNG.
When we send it to the different organizations, what format should it be in?
PDF.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
printing certainly, but I'm less savvy online. Like if you're posting on any kind of social media.
Well, you would ideally send both. Can you just send both in a link? The PDF and all?
You could, yeah. I think Kathy's question is, what formats are the best formats? Is it more than one format? And just to make sure that we.
When I'm sending it out to the allies, what's the best format? And
Yeah, it's just gonna vary if you're doing social media versus if you're sending it via, I don't know, email, or if you're sending, like, it just, depending on how people are gonna access it. That's why those two options would be helpful.
Canva will export it on any format you want. So if you want it for Instagram, you want it for Facebook, you want
really?
PDF, you want, yeah. It'll resize them all, so it just depends on who needs what.
Okay, so one option is that we include that all in our communications with our partners. Like, here it is in 6 different forms, and then the other is, here it is in one form, and if you need it in a different form, Juniper, I think we might CC you on all of these emails, and then the various community partners might say, we are hoping to use it in this way, can you send it to us as this form? And you would just follow up with them.
That works.
Okay.
so you'll send us a PDF. Oh, okay, perfect.
So you're putting it on the town crier and the town website?
Yep, so what I have here, thank you for that reminder. Is a list of our partners and all the other places where we want to make sure they get this information. So town crier and town website, thank you for that reminder. I'd like to put a person on each one of these so there's just ownership.
Yep, I'm the crier.
Okay.
Brett Silverman is working with the town, interim town administrator to do that, so.
To do town crier as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's been very active, so you can reach out to Brett. And I don't know if he has a
You
town
can just,
email
it
address.
tells you how to just submit a
Yeah,
form.
town crier is a separate submission thing.
Yeah,
You just
Yeah.
submit it at the
he's
end.
involved in that. He and
Okay.
Elizabeth Hag are involved in that.
Okay, great. So Kathy, you can do town crier, town website. I'll add that to the other things I'm asking Brett to post on behalf of HRC. Ally list, Kathy,
Yeah.
you can send.
Yeah.
The church, Angie, since you're already in communication.
I'm in communication.
Oh, you are?
And I'll
Okay.
take care of that.
Super. So yes, both Deacon Susan and President
Thank you.
Julie.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. I can do the Interfaith Clergy Association, YMCA. Craig, was that you who had been in contact with them? Or can you get us the contact?
That's Darcy Paiva.
Okay.
Um,
Can you send me her email and I can email it to her?
Yeah.
I can do the library. Craig, can you follow up with the Easton Democratic Town Committee?
Yep.
And then I will follow up with my contact for the Easton Republican Town Committee. Angie, were you in touch with RMK?
Yes.
Okay, so you can forward to them. Juniper, can you forward this to everyone at the schools who would be relevant to receive it?
Yeah.
Council on Aging has come up as a good resource to tap. Who would we contact there?
Well, could you contact
Joe.
Joe?
Okay, well,
Has he left already?
he's leaving next week, I think.
Oh, okay.
Joe,
Well, what about
the rep?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
the 10th? Well, that's kind of soon.
Tuesday.
Who's under him though?
That person also left.
Page? Jeff Page?
Yeah.
No, he has there was an assistant person who moved on, so he has like an administrative person.
Reach out to Kristen Kennedy.
Yeah, you would go to Chris.
Go to Kristen Kennedy.
Can you do that?
Kristen Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and
She's the director for what's her title?
She's Director of Health and Community Services. Her office is at Town Hall.
I have her email, I can give it to you.
okay. And we want to do what?
So we're sharing the flyer that,
Sharing the flyer.
yeah, and asking her to distribute it to the relative groups or organizations.
That's
for
what we're
the
all
town.
doing, that's when
Yeah.
we send it out, ask them to send it out.
Is there a Facebook page for the community, or?
We can't because we are a town committee.
Oh, yeah,
So on the town's Facebook page, they can
Post it.
choose to. I don't know what their policy is about what they choose to share through the towns. That's probably not a Brett decision, though. Who would be the right person to ask about that, Craig?
Okay, well, the town crier is probably the best way to do it, because more than 3,000 people actually subscribe to that. In terms of the website, again, I would reach out to Brett Soderman and see what he's the guy who's been helping out.
Yep. What about Facebook?
The town Facebook, ask Brett. If he doesn't know, he'll go to Mary or somebody else to find out what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will
So
do.
another way is to, I know Michelle usually does this, just post it on your personal Facebook page. And so, but that's a different format? Is that right?
Oh, yeah, it'll export it, it depends.
You can even take a picture of it and upload it on Facebook.
Yeah.
You don't need a
They're all
specific
like,
format.
yeah, they all are super interchangeable. It doesn't
Okay.
really matter.
So
But
is
in-
the email we receive, or is it gonna be like an email that's going to have, some sort of, this is the PDF version, this is the whatever it is version, this is whatever, for Twitter, this is whatever, so all within one email that we'll be forwarding, like, is that what?
I think that might be overwhelming.
Yeah, what Jude said is that this is the PDF format. If you need it in a different format, please let us know.
Okay, no contact, okay,
Yeah,
that's what it is,
yeah,
And
okay.
then
So-
Juniper will be on
Yeah.
there.
Okay,
Put-
alright, that's fine.
CC Juniper on all of your communications. So with the line, if you need this in a different format, please contact Juniper Meisner, who is CC'd on this email. And they can say, could you please give me it in whatever.
I'm happy to circulate it around Facebook.
I know, you're so good.
That I can do. But I need the flyer, I'm not sure I have it.
She's gonna send it to us all.
Okay, yeah, it should have been on the email
Okay.
that you got prior to the meeting.
That's fine.
Okay. Great. So we have the flyer finished. We know who's sending it. Everyone's going to CC Juniper. This is a this week task for everyone since this is coming up on the 21st. So that is the goal. Get this out tonight or certainly by Thursday night so it could get out Friday to respective groups.
Right.
If you want it on the town crier,
Yeah.
it has to be in on Wednesday.
Okay.
However, you can do it next week. You can ask to put it in back-to-back weeks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great.
And I'll volunteer to take care of the RSVPs.
Okay. Super. Thank you. All right. We ready to get into the meat of the workshop?
Okay, here we go.
I don't think we have to go through every,
Jump again, but-
No, but Angie had a nice
Kind of
summary at the end of the HRC committee questions, and so that might be a good place to start.
Yeah. So, this is working under the assumption that you've had the opportunity to review the overall, I guess, outline. And does this make sense in terms of the flow, that the focus is on kind of getting people to understand, be aware, then reflect on it, develop a skill, practice, all of those various things. So there's that. Also, the 90 minutes, does it seem like it would likely be rushed at all? Because it is a lot of content, and it's hard because I'm not used to, I haven't in a very long time presented to lay audiences. So it's kind of like, how far ahead are people into this? Like, how much do they think about theoretical concepts, or whatever it is compared to what. So that's one of the things as well. And so certain things should be cut out. And also, is there any sort of space where people might not be as interested, might lose energy, need tightening, need to be focused more, and such. And so that's just the first part in terms of, the focus on the overall flow.
Can you explain a little bit more what what number 2 is.
Oh, the trivia?
Mm-hmm.
So basically the trivia is that people are going to get into, so I'm going to give them a series of questions and ask them like, I'm trying to think of something. Like, this is the Korean word for dad, for example. And you know, we would ask them, like, we would give them a series like 10 questions, for example. And a lot of them are going to be more so like culturally based, but not just cultural, because getting people to understand the importance of multiple cultures, not just, there's academic cultures, there's, you know, ethnic cultures, religious cultures, there's a variety of different things. But also, in essence, the overall purpose is to get people to be able to better understand that you know more when you're around more diverse groups and more diverse people. And so that would be one of the questions. And so, like another question I think I might ask, I have a whole bank of questions I've been coming up with, but one is, you know, like this substance, you know, spread into like the North End, you know, I can't remember this specific year, but you know, in this year, like, you know, but in Boston, what was it, you know, instead of molasses, Java would be the Korean word for father. So there are things that aren't necessarily that you would know, you know, more like if you know people or through conversation or interaction, it's more like cultural trivia questions. And so what they're going to be doing is answering them on their own in a couple of minutes, like it's going to be really quick. And then they're going to be doing it in a group, a small group, and then we're going to get together and answer it. And one of the things that you notice, of course, is that people are able to, you probably will get a few of them right on your own, but when you're with more people, you're always going to get more of them right. But what's really key, though, is that it's not based on academic knowledge per se. It's more so on you happen to know people from different groups and experiences who are able to share this with you in terms of helping you to be able to not just have a better understanding of different groups, but also be able to engage in conversation, interact, and dialogue with people differently. And it also leads into the conversation of how people are different and how you have different experiences. And how what you know in your identity and what you know in your interactions are all intersect, and that influences the way in which you engage in dialogue with others and converse and community, etc.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I only asked because I thought maybe number 3 would come before to like root people in their identity, but I like how you, like the reason that the way the activity will be successful is like you transitioning into like that conversation of how people show up in a space.
Yeah.
So that makes sense the way it's laid out. Yeah. Do you think it's like kind of like an icebreaker activity?
Yeah, that's kind of like an icebreaker activity in essence. Do you think it's enough time for it?
That was my thought. That I'm listening to the process. I'm going, it's going to be kind of difficult time-wise. And, you know, and it depends on how the people get, you know, the individual response and how people get together. So we'll have them just get together with people that are there.
They're going to be at tables, so you will do it. And
they're going to be on the table, that's right.
we're going to have people assigned to different tables, so you're not just with people you know.
Right.
You're going to be with
Yeah,
somebody.
that would work, and that would move it along.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great.
That's my concern.
You know, I think there's a lot here. I love it. I think it's fabulous.
Wonderful.
But it seems, I wonder about being able to fit it all in the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I thought the same
And
thing.
I guess my question would be to you is if you had to cut something, because you know this material,
Yeah,
what would you suggest?
Yeah.
Well, this is one of the things that I just kind of get stuck with in terms of doing, like it's, I used to teach 4-hour-long classes and stuff, so I love going on and traveling on. So, you know, so this has always been a challenge for me. Yes, this is why I put in the timing and everything in so they can get more feedbacks. It's hard for me. Everything flows in my head very well, so it's hard to figure out and juggle, and also considering that it's a more diverse audience with different, you know, like different backgrounds and ages, and, you know, they're not grad students, you know, like faculty. So I know that's a different goal. And so I just, do you think it's going to take longer, or things that are not really realistic? Should I, like, for example, influence and power in everyday life. Like I was thinking about cutting that. That's B, that's 3B. And kind of getting rid of that discussion. But one of the reasons why I thought about keeping it was that it helps to define and helps to influence how people interact and engage with each other, especially, for example, if you're even talking with a young person with an adult, like their interaction is going to be different, and people need to understand that. You can't expect necessarily the same. Like it's So there's that, there's a bunch of different things, and so I was wondering if it's something where, even getting to the thing where I get like the whole care framework or whatever it is, and kind of go through that really quickly, and like, does it, I wanna make sure we have enough time to do the actual scenarios where we apply it to it, so we can come up with, I came with a couple of small group discussions, like political tension at a community dinner, it's just like random things, like, potential topics, that we can come up with so that I can develop scenarios around. But, I'm wondering if it means that, cutting out certain sections or trying to remove basically from 5 onward. And that's what
Maybe you could conflate B and C, like influencing power and the Head Start unearned advantage, into just one conversation.
that would take 15 minutes.
Would it be helpful if we had visual stopwatch?
No. I had a presentation once where it was, I literally had a flash one where it changes every like 15 seconds, and it was that was the worst talk of my life. Yeah, so that was, it's way too stressful. Okay, so that's actually a good idea to combine power.
So you could talk about power and privilege in those sections and kind of in summary.
I'm not sure how 4 is 10 minutes.
I mean, that was the goal. I mean, it's
Short or long?
I mean, I think you could do that in 2 minutes. Number 4.
well, that was going to be part of a discussion thing where I was going to ask people and go like a kind of a dialogue thing. So what do you think? Blah 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 blah. And so I was just giving it for that, but that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I also incorporated, so it wasn't the entire thing wasn't didactic, and it was some, discussion, some sort of people being able to meet. And that's the hard part with these types of presentations, because you don't know how long people are going to, like, they kind of pulling people back from conversation is really difficult to do. So I was trying to limit the amount of times they meet in groups. So there's that first time and then that end time. But then in between, just kind of give times to be able to ask questions and talk. But that's fine not to do it, because it also will take a lot longer and could theoretically veer off into something and, so.
Yeah, I mean, part of this also is you. Like, how comfortable do you feel adjusting on the fly, reading the room? So I think as long as you're thinking through, if you have to make adjustments and you feel confident that you have your eye on the time, I'm comfortable trusting your judgment on this, since you've run these before and you have a sense of what's valuable for the audience to participate in. I would say as a teacher looking at it, when I look at 4 and 5, I'm like, that could be 30 and it could be 10 total between the two of them. Like, I think there's a lot of flexibility, at least from what I can see about how you outlined it, to really shrink or really expand that, which again, I would say would be your judgment call based on what seems right with that audience.
And I wouldn't want to shirk the 6, because I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, that's what I would like to give more time to. So
Yeah.
it actually might work out if we do shorten 4, not make it much of a discussion, but 5, let people ask questions before we go into 6. And then increase that by, and that can be actually 20, that can be actually, I mean, ideally it would be 30 plus, but it was funny, so when I was going over this, I was trying to make this longer, but it was just taking a ridiculous amount of money trying to go my time trying to like figure out, how to come up with the time thing. But yeah, I think that would actually work out.
And if you allot more time there and then have to shrink it as you go, I mean, that's sort of give yourself a little buffer within that.
Okay.
And maybe too, you could just do like, instead of 10 questions, 5. I feel like it might be hard for people to settle in 10 minutes and for you to do all your intros, like the welcome.
Yeah,
That always just takes a long time. People show up late, people are talking.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Alright, so.
logistical question. So Kathy, you had said that attendees will be assigned to a table. Do you and Angie have a sense of how many jobs there are for the committee to help sort of administer and organize and run the workshop versus having us as participants to ensure there's vibrant participation and conversation for any groups that are getting stuck?
Well, that's a question. Do you feel like it'll be clear enough for the tables to understand what their goal is? So that we don't have to be monitoring.
Yeah, I mean,
the
ideally
tables.
we'll participate in the workshops, and also, but you'll be at different tables theoretically, and then, you know, you'll be able to help continue the conversation if somehow veers off, but I usually, it doesn't typically. And also I'll kind of be walking around and such, but people typically police themselves.
I mean, even like when they come in, like, are you getting like a red tag and you're sitting at the red table or something like that?
Yeah, they're getting that, yeah.
Okay, so you two have that.
Well,
Yeah,
we could probably use one or
Jobs
two
for us.
additional people to help, just
Yeah,
be
okay.
greeters and, you know.
Yeah, like
and
ideally
like
somebody, at the table, like a greeter person, and then a potential, IT, something happens,
Right.
issue person,
What
whatever it is.
what time can you get into the space? 12:30 or 12:45?
You could get there
Yeah,
at
it's
12:30, I'm
yeah,
sure.
it's-
Okay, so it would be ideal for the HRC members who are available that day to come at 12:30 to help with any setup, to understand how the room is set up and what the plan is so that we can answer questions if need be. And so you said to Molly, you don't need anyone like flashing you time or anything like that? Okay, so you'll
No.
just kind of handle that. Okay, great. Any other questions, Angie, you want the
yeah.
committee's input on?
Oh, yeah, really quickly. So, language.
I think the CARE acronym's great.
Yes, kind of.
I also think, is that a printout you're gonna give them?
Yeah, I was thinking about giving some sort of printout or like a, so I wanted to print out the vignettes, and that was another thing I wanted to ask about quickly too, is the practice scenarios, because I would develop vignettes around them. I was just trying to think about what potential topics could be helpful for people to be able to practice on. But then also, so print out those, but also some sort of thing, just what it is. I mean, I don't know what else to print. I mean, what a card.
Well, like, if the CARE framework is an important takeaway, then as an attendee, I would want the handout, right? Rather than trying to be there and be like, did I get it? You know,
But
did
they're
I
also
write
getting
it down?
notes though, right? From the notebook.
Well, that was my question,
Yeah,
right?
they're getting notebooks. They have, so.
But someone might find it hard to listen and
Oh, no,
think
that's fine, okay.
at the
Sure.
same time, and especially if you're looking to trim time, I think you could save it by saying like, here's the acronym, here's what it stands for, so they don't have to worry about writing it down.
Okay.
And I think the printouts of the scenario is a good idea.
Okay. So the different scenarios really quickly. Over there. Oh, here we go. So that's number 6. So are those topics, any other potential topics? So what I was thinking about doing was either, I think it'd be more worthwhile to have each group do like one particular table or one particular group, do one particular, one scenario and apply the CARE framework within that in terms of how they would engage in that, or how they would handle that interaction or what have you. And then come back together as a larger group and then go through each one and discuss it and, say if you have any other, suggestions or how it's going to be applied and such. So, but just so that they get kind of different ways in which they're going to be applied, kind of different types of challenges that, I could think, okay, this is a small town, what are going to be random things that could potentially be
I got a
issues?
good one.
Oh, great.
So, I think one is whenever people are protesting, and if you don't believe what they believe, you don't really have to scream at them. For example, theoretically, if that was
The
to
opposite of
possibly
harmony.
happen.
Yeah.
So you have some bullet points listed. Do you have like actual scenarios right now?
No, I didn't want to develop the scenarios unless I wanted to get potential topics. I didn't want to spend the time developing scenarios if we didn't have the topics. And so, like political tension, for example, at a community dinner, so that could be something in terms of a protest and sort of discussion. Like, I'm thinking there's that 300th anniversary that we just recently had. Like, say somebody had said something.
300.
Yeah, 300, right? And say somebody had said something or done so, or there was whatever it is, sort of kind of discussion or how it had to be handled. Then religious majority assumptions and, you know, about like holidays or calendars, maybe make up something about a teacher and not letting it, I don't know, just whatever. So it's kind of come with kind of theoretical topics that might be an issue in a town like ours. That's somewhat realistic, and how would people be able to, if you bump into your neighbor who at Roach Brothers and they bring this up, or if you're at dinner or whatever it is, how could you do this in a way that people that have different viewpoints theoretically can engage in a conversation?
Or maybe one thing would be is if your child is best friends with another child and the parents have very different views.
Like that, like
And how you address that.
Yes, that's a good one.
Or like racist remarks made at like a public meeting or something.
What's that?
Like a racist remark made at a public meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Angie, for the scenarios, I'm wondering if attendees are going to need a little more guidance to practice the care. Like, they might actually need a script where one or two people at the table like read what happens. Like, you were Uncle Joey at the family dinner for grandma's birthday type of thing, right? And everyone else has to call it in, ask to understand, reflect the impact type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, good. It wasn't clear to me how scripted it was, and I think I would err on the side of more scripted. And then in terms of the 15 minutes, again, thinking through like however detailed these scenarios are and however long it takes to do care, I don't know what you think that amount of time is.
Oh, I know, I just made it up. So I mean, we'll see. Like, it's typically these types of acronyms, whatever it is, people remember them and stuff. And so I'm assuming that they should be able to, because depending on how many people there are in each group, which also depends on how many register, et cetera. Then they'll have a discussion. And then we're going to get back together in a larger group. So the discussion aspect of it, for all those, and so I was thinking about like once we expanded this and got rid of 4, kind of combined 4 and 5, that it would be about like 20 minutes that would be in their overall groups for. But then that would give us about 10 minutes for us to be able to go around and ask how each person or each table and see if there's any other feedback or anything like that, which would be a total of 30. So would that be an appropriate amount of time?
I think if it's really important that they're coming away with a tool, that we give them ample opportunity to practice.
Yeah.
And particularly, I think your question number 4 is exactly the right one. Like, what would make this harder in real life? Like, you're learning how to use a tool. We've got like a very structured environment. All right, it is 7:25, and we do need to leave some time for Pride. So let's spend about 5 more minutes on any feedback for Angie and additional questions you have.
Just anything from points 3 and 4.
I would ground the space by sharing the desired outcomes at the start.
Yeah.
I think people won't really know what they like. I don't know.
So like the learning goals?
I would
I have that at the beginning. After the acknowledgement.
And the desired outcomes.
Okay, I can put the desired outcomes too.
You can even just like put it up
The learning goals.
just so people like kind of just ground them what they're doing.
Anything else?
Okay, I would ask all committee members to RSVP so that we have an accurate head count. So when Juniper sends out the document to all of us to distribute to our various groups or our personal networks, take it as your own reminder to RSVP for your attendance. So we also know how many helpers we have.
Okay.
All right. Great.
Well,
Thank you
that's
so
good.
much. This
Okay.
is going to be great. Excellent planning.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this. Oh, one other thing. I wonder if we should ask about photography, because we probably would like some photographs of this in action, and some people might not want to be photographed. So we can address that maybe day of and just give someone a sticker if they don't want to be in a photograph.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Excellent. All right. Our next event item is Pride. Michelle, I know you have a lot for us.
Amy. So this is Amy. Amy is also a past HRC member and the Pride planner extraordinaire. Thank you.
Amy Gershman.
She planned it for all the years, pretty much, that we had it. And then last year, Unity Church headed it up, and I guess this year we're heading it back up. So far, Amy and I have met with a couple of the people from Unity, just to kind of compare notes and what worked, what didn't work. Feel free to jump in, Amy. Kind of brainstorm some ideas. And then Amy and I since met to create these buckets of responsibility, because the more we talked, the more it was like, oh my gosh, this is a huge event. I don't know how you ever did it by yourself. So I don't know, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, no, I think that's
Yeah.
it. I think
Okay.
just to, but Michelle, just the reality is, if people don't sign up to volunteer, it can't happen. It just, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of coordination.
And there's a lot of moving parts, and it involves, you know, the DPW, it involves the police, it involves closing the center of our town down. It involves drawing people there, and trash removal, and porta potties, like just so many things go into it, and we really only have roughly 3 months before
All right.
this happens.
We're going to do it.
Which is great, and it's doable, but it's an all hands on deck kind of thing. So when Amy and I were talking, and kind of after picking everybody's brains, these were kind of the buckets of job organizations that Amy thought would be most productive, and the things that went together. So one is yard signs and flyers, and we tried to do bullet points of kind of what you would be responsible for if you took on that particular section. So getting estimates, approving an approval for a committee to purchase, designing and order signs. So we had a company that we always used.
We have one that I used in the past. I'd be glad to help with that. It's
Okay.
Vistaprint.
Okay. Securing a location. So as far as there is a permit that you have to pull to get be able to put signs at the S curves and the Hilliard's corner. Is that those two places for the town?
You don't need permits for that.
We don't need a permit for that? Okay.
If you go by, anytime there's a political campaign going on, and you
Yeah.
go by Hilliard, you see them all over the
You see them
And
there.
go,
Okay, so then that takes having to do the permit off. But those are the two main places, if you're doing something for the town, that you would put signs, and then anywhere, private properties or any other businesses that might be willing to put them out. And we do have, for all these things, we do have past documents that we can share, past lists of where we place things, past vendors, past food trucks. So whoever's signing up for something, you're not reinventing the wheel. We have some things for people to build off of. So picking up the signs, placing the signs, picking them up, disposing them. We didn't keep any of them. Is that because we put a
They have a
date on
date
them?
on Yeah, the
Okay.
data.
Designing flyers, printing them, coming up with locations to distribute. So things for the flyers are like the community boards, the same places that you guys are talking about for where we would be promoting this workshop in March. The allies list, websites, things like that. So that's like one job, kind of overseeing that yard sign and flyer bucket. Other marketing, social media, and town crier, I'm happy to head up that. So that would be just taking whatever it is you created in the yard and flyer section and getting it out in an additional way. Fundraising, that is finding sponsors. There is a sponsor letter, correct? Right.
There's a letter and a list of people we respond to go for. And I assume Unity gave you some of who they approached to in their documents?
Say it again?
That Unity Church gave us
Yeah.
who they approached?
Yes, yeah. There is a document that I can share with you from that. And then Amy had a lot of notes from when she's done it. So we tried to kind of compile it because it's a lot. So reaching out to potential sponsors, new and old, keeping track of fundraising. Last year, we had the Farmer's Daughter did a month-long specialty drink, and then they donated a portion of that back to the event, and then the Beanery also does that. So that's one bucket. Food vendors, I think Amy had said that she would be willing to continue that one.
Sure.
The food vendors, so reaching out to the past vendors, maybe new vendors. I know Kathy, did you see the email from Kathy? Okay. Following up, they had Barrels and Boards last year, who is interested in coming back for this year, getting vendor agreements, proof of insurance, and the Board of Health permits. Entertainment, that's your DJ, music, animals, so Unity had, where did they come from, the ASPCA? The animals?
I don't know where I don't know.
It's in that document.
But
So they had like all
Yeah, it was
different
great.
animals
It was
and people
very
could come and play with them and then adopt them.
Oh, no.
It was really nice and
Yeah.
people really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So hopefully having them back, reaching out to the YMCA for yard games or any other way they want to help participate.
They've already written that they wanted to have a table.
Face painting, again, there's a list of people we've used before that can be built off of. Other vendors, saving the date, seeking new and additional vendors. The agreement finalized, we just have to update the information for this year. It's already written, we use it year after year. Managed correspondence, coming up a way, so just keeping track of who you reached out to, who's committed, who's done the paperwork, proof of insurance, and logos. Can you speak a little to that?
I threw that in after we talked. So if we want to put the logos on any signage, we usually do like a thank you banner, or even put them on the website or Facebook event listing, so that to get just interest from the community.
So is that of the vendors or the funders? Sponsors?
All of it. Yeah.
And who will we turning in paperwork and proof of insurance? Those are for the bigger vendors, not necessarily the mom and pop vendors.
Yes, mom and pop, we can waive those, but we just need to alert the town that they don't have insurance, but they signed the waiver.
And does that go
No, the waiver
to a
has to be
particular
signed.
person?
It's just the insurance that we can
Okay,
let go of.
all right.
I'm happy to help with that. I have a big network of small businesses,
Okay,
like vendors.
excellent.
So you're asking not just to help, you're asking people to assume responsibility of that
For
section.
a bucket.
A
Pick a bucket.
Yeah.
Any bucket.
I'll take the bucket.
Okay.
I'll probably
Or the
not.
vendor bucket. And Amy and I are
Size
here to help
large.
as resources, and we'll share all the documents with you. We just figured if everybody was in charge of one thing, then we're not all over the place and we're not
I think it's great.
thinking smarter, not harder. Security and sanitation, that is, contacting the civil rights officer, who's a member of our committee, to secure the police detail. Has any of that been done yet? No, okay.
That's a fairly, that used to be a fairly easy thing. Now with some of the constraints that the police department are under, we have to talk to Phil about how best to do that. Talk to the DPW, because 2 years ago, as I recall, DPW was late in getting there,
Yeah.
and we need to get those
Yeah, I
roads
have
blocked
that
off.
in
She wrote in
all
it,
caps. Make sure you double check what time they show up.
Yeah. But I'll talk to Phil, and because we're going to have to go in front of the select board for certain road closures, et cetera, and sooner rather than later. But I'll talk to Phil about police detail. I'll talk to DPW about getting the crews there for closing off the streets, et cetera. Because you're going to have Barrow Street on Lincoln closed off. You want Main Street closed off at the Rockery, and you're going to want it closed off down by Shovel Works as well, so you don't get crazy people driving through,
Right.
which is what happened 2 years ago, and
Right.
you couldn't get them there quick enough.
It's all in that letter, the letter to update with the new dates to then present to the select board. It has all of the areas listed in there, all the closures.
Okay, all right, and thank you. So making sure that we've got the porta potties, there's a particular spot that they seem to go to, but it is on private property, and we just need to double check that.
Yeah, and the last time I did it, John Morgan cleared it with them. I don't even have their name or contact info, so the to-do item is to reach
Oh,
out
for the whose property is
to
okay.
John Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah, to arrange
Well, we
it.
have John's contact, so
Yes.
And wasn't it on Hometown Auto?
we can get that.
No, well, no, it's right. The porta potties were right next
Right
to
next
it
to
on
it.
its private property.
But it's not typically a problem, because they do it for the holiday fest, and they do it for us. It just needs to be done and okay, yeah. So make sure that they get paid for. Contact John Morgan about the placement of it, and I have his contact information as well as I think Amy does too. John also helped last year, or in past years, with the trash bins. He borrowed and he delivered them for us a
Yeah,
couple
he
years
took
ago.
care of all of it. He had the bins. He showed up with the bins the night before, set them up. He even
Okay.
donated the liners, and then he picked them up when we were done. The one thing that we had to do ourselves was get rid of the trash. He didn't take the trash. He just took
Okay.
the barrels.
Okay. So that bucket is porta potties and trash, basically. And John will be a big resource in that one. Volunteers, finding and coordinating volunteers, reaching out to different organizations and channels to acquire them, coming up with roles and responsibilities. Does that mean for the day of the event? Is
For
that
the
what you mean?
volunteers, and there's some sample lists, and there are ones that I've used in the past. It's really about, like, if a volunteer shows up, having a specific job for them to do and having somebody to manage that, because otherwise you're one person and suddenly 10 volunteers come ask what they should do, and
So somebody telling the vendors where.
it's a
They
lot
have to go.
easier to have it
Okay.
thought out beforehand.
Okay. And making sure there's a point person for that. And then I'll be there. Are you going to be at the event? Maybe.
Maybe.
You're a maybe, but you are not. Okay. Beth had suggested that we reach out to the people who did the women's stroll. I didn't go to that, so I wasn't really sure what that was about. But she has agreed to take that on to see if she can organize something for that day as a new feature, some kind of pride stroll to the businesses down there. And if anybody's been to it, maybe you can fill me in a little bit more of what it is. But
Well, there were outdoor vendors,
yeah,
which I don't think you'd necessarily want, because we want those in the center with us. And then the stores that are along Main Street were open to people, and they often had like little samples that they were giving to people as you went around.
and you
know,
said
like,
we wouldn't want that?
What?
Did you say we wouldn't want that?
No, I think we want
Oh,
that. I wouldn't want
The vendors are on the
to
sidewalk, I
compete
think.
Yeah.
with the vendors.
You don't want
On
them
the
leaving,
sidewalk
you want
and
them
the-
Right,
there.
right,
yeah.
so I wasn't
Yeah.
really sure what that is. We had brainstormed maybe some kind of stroll or scavenger hunt or something, I don't know. But she's willing to look into that and take that on, and we can kind of develop that.
You know, it was to the,
But that's a good
the
point.
benefit of the businesses, because people would buy things too while they were in their stores.
Right.
Yeah, it was Condra Gover who coordinated that with from the Farmers Daughter. So if you can tell Beth to reach out to Condra.
Okay. All right.
Michelle,
thank-
just for context, we get kicked out of this room in about 10 minutes.
Okay. We'll come back to the parade part. And I said that I would do the paperwork end of it. I'm not in town during the day. I teach in Rhode Island, so it's a little harder for me to do some of the things, but you mentioned getting on the select board agenda for the road closures, DPW, so maybe I can work with you on
Yeah,
that,
sure.
because I kind of put that in one of my buckets.
Sure.
Creating a Pride email address, which I have done, I did that tonight, and I will get that out to you. The HRC email gets very busy with a lot of other stuff, and sometimes things get lost in it. And so we created one just for Pride, just the Pride event. So I will get that all to you guys. And update the agreement and send to Sean for approval. What agreement was that?
Well, the vendor agreement and the sponsor.
Oh, just look,
agreement.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. And reconfirm with Joan at Oak Saints, which I've emailed, but I have not heard back from her. And then another new.
She lives in Molly's neighborhood. You can get Molly, go over and knock on her door.
There you go. Hello.
I don't know anybody. I probably should.
We talked about so one of the things that Amy and I had talked about is how can we get new people there? Like how can we make something fresh or new or whatnot? So that was where the stroll idea came from. And possibly just around the Rockery, like a decorate your stroller and wagon and bike or whatever parade, just something in that area that we're already going to be using. I don't know if that was something that other people might think might be.
That seems like a secondary concern, because we need to assign the buckets
Right.
tonight. So maybe we can focus on the things that absolutely need to happen.
Right.
And then
Right.
think about what our wish list is.
Okay.
Okay.
So the ones that you don't have a name with is, the first one is the signs. That needs to be somebody who can design things. That's my.
That sounds like Juniper. I mean, I would be willing to work with you, Juniper, on the logistics if you took care of the design
Okay, yeah.
component of
Yeah.
it. All right, so Kathy, why don't you put the two of us down and we'll divvy up those tasks.
I put myself for fundraising, but
Okay.
I just did that ahead of
So
time.
you were doing yard signs and flyers, is that what you're saying?
They're doing the first bucket.
Okay.
All right, I was gonna do fundraising too, but
Oh.
if you want it, it's okay.
I think Kat could use help over the next couple months. I think the two of you doing it together probably.
Just because
Sounds
the
like a good
fundraising,
idea.
the money has to come to me anyway, so
Oh.
I can put the money in the
Well, that
bank
makes
and
sense.
thing.
Yeah.
But I'll do it with you.
How about you lead it, I'll support.
What is
Okay.
your name? I don't
Kat.
know.
Kat.
Okay.
You have Amy's doing the food vendors, and Amy, you're also doing the entertainment?
No, I did not put myself for. Did I put myself for entertainment?
You did put yourself at entertainment and
A lot of the people that I have, like my contacts are entertainment and.
but you were
Artists.
definitely doing food vendors, right?
Definitely doing food vendors. Yep.
So if Molly maybe worked with Amy or with someone for entertainment, if that's an area you feel comfortable with.
You can take my name off of entertainment. But I'll do something else instead.
Okay.
But I don't really.
You
have
can
a
help
lot
me
of
make
delegation.
sure I do the paperwork right.
Okay.
I'm definitely not gonna have the capacity to do both vendors and entertainment,
No.
but I can
No.
support entertainment.
I could work on entertainment
You can work on entertainment?
and pull you in if I
Okay,
need
yeah. Because I mean, I have like a lot of entertainers. That's not my input.
The vendor part, I'm warning you, is a lot of work because if you think like in the past we've had like at least 30 vendors
Mhm.
there, and each one requires like usually 4, 5, 6 emails. It's a lot of communication and a lot of.
So you're saying I shouldn't do it?
No, I'm just being totally honest. And
No,
I
it's
use my
fine.
own the reason I recommended doing a separate email
Yeah.
address is I used my personal email last time and it was just like overwhelming. So
I've got like 7 emails, so.
So Molly, I would help you with the vendors.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the one that we need to send out something to the previous vendors right away.
Yeah.
But that's,
So we have that list, right?
we have that.
Yeah,
We're talking
we
about
have
the
multiple-
food vendors and,
no, I'll do the food ones
Okay.
because usually there's only 6 or 7 and
Okay.
it's separate and they have a different process. So
okay,
it's like it's 2 things. It's like people selling stuff or
So
crafting or
Kathy
whatever.
and Molly.
And then there's a lot of like people
For other
and
vendors?
organizations
Other vendors,
that are providing
LOL.
information
Yeah.
and kind of support.
Is there room for more?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's plenty. There are so many people that want to do
I'll work
things,
with you on
and especially during Pride.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to Boston and do those
Yeah.
events because
No,
one, they're really
I
expensive.
I
and two,
have all
they're
the
really
layouts
expensive.
mapped out and like number. I've got
I
lists from all the
I was
previous
just gonna
years and
suggest
all the
that,
contact info there.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you choose?
And I'm happy to like
No, I was working with
Yeah.
security and
like walk you
sanitation.
through all of it.
Yeah,
so
I'm happy
you
to
can
do
see
it.
what's there.
There are so many people that are ready and
Yeah.
And to work
ready
with
to
Craig.
sell.
Yeah, no, it's great. I've
Yeah.
met so many awesome people.
All right,
So Bob said he's
And it's
comfortable
good
with
to-
security and
to be able to-
sanitation.
But sometimes you can
Okay.
curate it.
Yeah.
a little bit.
So Craig, you and I can work together.
yeah, yeah, we'll talk to Phil and DPW.
Yeah, I'll give you
Okay,
my-
so Bob and Craig,
Okay.
security and sanitation. Thank you.
Okay, so Molly and Kathy are doing the vendors, and Kat and Michelle are doing entertainment? Or Kat and Molly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can,
Kat, Molly,
Molly
and
can support.
Michelle.
Are you gonna do entertainment? Or, and
Yeah.
other vendors?
No,
No,
we're doing
Kathy
it.
and Molly,
Kathy and Molly.
and then I'm
I'm sorry.
doing entertainment.
And you're doing, okay. Volunteer.
Volunteers?
So I am happy to help with volunteers, but because I won't be there that day, I need someone who's the point person,
I can be the
you know,
point
to
person.
manage everything.
Okay, if you get them there, I'll tell them what to do.
Yeah. Juniper, I might rope you in on this to get all the school, like, components for volunteers too.
Alright, so I just wanna make sure I have this right. So yard signs with flyers is Liz and Juniper.
Yes.
I'm doing other marketing, fundraising is Kat and Kathy. Food vendors is Amy. Entertainment is Kat and Molly. Other vendors,
Put my
Kathy and
info in
Molly.
that document at the top too, so anyone can contact.
Kathy and Molly. Security and sanitation, Bob and Craig. And volunteers. Liz, you said, and I'll help you with that.
Yeah,
Liz
and Kathy
and
and
Michelle. Alright, Beth is gonna do the stroll.
And then Angie and Colleen, if anything comes to mind, just email Michelle directly about what your capacity and interests are.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I am horrible with logistics, and I wouldn't trust myself for anything necessarily.
So Liz
But
and
I can
Colin.
help out with something, but likely volunteers, I'm thinking, but I can think about it more once the workshop thing is done,
Yeah.
just time-wise.
Fair enough.
But yeah, it will likely be volunteers. I'll be helping with.
You'll help with volunteers?
Yeah.
In April.
Excellent, alright. So what I'll do is make sure that you all have access to all of the past information. And Amy's and my, contact information, because we've both done some other planning.
I just put
And-
mine in that same document, if any, like reach out anytime.
And we'll probably have an in-between, between now and our next official meeting, like a Zoom type Google Meet or something, just to touch base, even if it's just like with one group or another group or whatever, whoever needs that support. We're happy to do that. So we'll make sure you have everything. And thank you all for volunteering. It's going to be wonderful. It's a lot of fun. It's very well received, and we have really good attendance. And I think, have you been to it? Have any of you been to it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you? No? Have you?
That's my
Yeah,
birthday
it's-
weekend, so I'm usually not here, but.
It's a wonderful event. It's kind of evolved into people look forward to it, which is excellent. Thank you.
All right, great. So that is a good foundation to start our planning for Pride, and I think we'll really be able to hit our stride come April and May, when that is really the main and only thing left on our agenda for the year. Amy Gershman is our public, and I think she has given her public participation. Is there any other business that people would like to share or bring up at the meeting?
I'd like to bring up a bit of town business. As people most know, Connor Reed left the town after 9 years as town administrator and 5 years in other roles to go to the town of Westwood. I must say that what I'm hearing is that they're thrilled to have him there. We hired a headhunting group, and they sent out the word. They talked to all the select board members about what it was that we were looking for in a town administrator, and then they created a mailing, and they put it out to everywhere. And there were 27 people that applied for the job of town administrator. The headhunters listed it 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we appointed a screening committee to look at the resumes and to determine how many of the people they felt they should interview. So I'm blanking on the number of people that we interviewed through the screening committee, but the screening committee then, after that much deliberation, recommended 3 candidates to come forward. And last night we had public interviews with the 3 candidates. One is the current town administrator in Pembroke, one is the current town administrator in Plimpton, and one is the current town administrator in Avon. Each one of them had 10 questions, the same questions for everybody, and it was 45 minutes or thereabouts for each of the people. And then the select board, after taking a break, then discussed who we thought was the most appropriate person for the town. I forgot to mention that the town department heads, all the department heads, last Thursday and last Friday, had an opportunity to meet the 3 candidates for about an hour for each candidate, so that they were get a sense, because they're all the ones that are going to work for the town administrator. And that included Sean Dugan was involved in that, and Elizabeth Hagg, who runs the select board office, and many other things too. So at the end of the evening, we selected the woman who's been in Plimpton for 9 years. Her name is Elizabeth Dennehy. She impressed the heck out of us, and she lives in town. She has 2 kids in the school system, and we were very pleased that she applied, and we're very pleased that she did. That she was the one that we decided that was the most appropriate person for the town. So now we enter into contract negotiations, and we're hoping that she'll be on board sometime in mid to end of April, which is excellent timing, because it'll be before the town meeting, so she'll get her first baptism under fire, town election on the 28th of April, and then the town meeting. But she's been in the town, a much smaller town, but she was brought into that town 9 years ago to professionalize the municipal government in that town. And according to all the references that we checked, she's done a superb job. So I'm really excited about it. So I just want everybody to know that that's where we are right now.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
That's a really great update. I'm very grateful to the select board and the government for going through that process efficiently and successfully. So we'll look forward to meeting our new town administrator when she is in place, and hopefully having her as an ally with the Human Rights Committee.
Yeah, I must say that I saw Chrissy last night because she was one of the people who came and watched us do the interviews, and I didn't know she was selected, and I was very excited to hear that from her. And I said to her, I think that's a fantastic decision by the school committee, and I'm looking forward to it. I think she'll do a great job, and I think she'll work really well with the select board.
If anyone wants to watch her interview, watch the school committee meeting from last week. It's the first 40 minutes or so. She gives a presentation, and then we ask questions for like another hour. But even if you just watch her presentation, never mind the back and forth questions, it was really impressive. It would give you a really good sense of who she is, what she believes, and how she plans to lead the district forward. So, it's all good things.
That's wonderful. All right, any other business that people would like to bring up? All right, so we are at the hour where the library would like to close the building. So I think it is time to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Barger.
Second.
Okay, Colleen.
Proudler, yes.
Barger, yes.
Yes.
Andrew, yes?
Bornstein, yes.
Foster, yes.
Harris, yes.
All right, it is 7:57 and the meeting's adjourned. We'll see you all next month, but we'll see you sooner at our workshop on the 21st.
I know, there's cheers.